الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هو الأول وآخر وباطن وطاهر وهو بكل شيء عليم. Is Allah who is the first and the last, the hidden and the apparent, and is Allah who has knowledge over everything. We just start off sort of informally, and maybe inshallah as we get started others will come in. We want to just share with you a few aspects. We met today, the imams in our association, Muslim American Association, 4 or 5 of us from the various. We met over at the Muslim Center, and we were discussing various aspects of the pre-Ramadan dinner, which is December the 27th at the Muslim Center. And what we want to do is that all those that took the Shahada for the year 96, 97, took the Shahadatain this year, we want to send them a letter inviting them out over at the center at this pre-Ramadan dinner, because what's going to be covered on there is various aspects of Ramadan. This is going to be their first fast month. This is going to be their first Ramadan, those that have taken the Shahadatain. And we want to send this letter to the new Muslims, those that have taken the Shahadatain, and invite them to this dinner, because it's about 6 or 7 of us, imams throughout the city in our association, going to cover various aspects of the religion. One imam who covered the night of power, one brother covered Eid al-Fitr. This will be a Quranic reading portion. You know, during Ramadan, you read a juz each day. You read 1/30 of a Quran. So it's going to be a brother addressing that aspect. It's going to be a brother dealing with Ta'awif Salat. I'm going to deal with aspects of fasting. 15 to 20 minute sort of introduction to aspects of fasting. Sighting of the new crescent, the halal. Some aspects of that. And then another brother is going to address iftar, the breaking of the fast during the month of Ramadan. And this is going to be a learning experience. This dinner is going to be a dinner, but after we have dinner, these 7 or 8 imams is going to give various aspects of the religion. So this is what we want to share with the public. This pre-Ramadan dinner, which is December the 27th. Put it on your calendar. December 27th at the Muslim Center. Imam Warifdeen Muhammad's next visit would be December, inshallah, would be December the 14th. December the 14th. His next speech, December the 14th. So we're going to, as imams, we're going to have a follow-up on that speech and whatever. So the thrust in the journal, the Muslim journal, he's dealing with various aspects, community and family. So the community and family, and we as imams in this particular association is going to deal with the themes that the imam sets, and we're going to follow through with various aspects of that. Another suggestion that we have is we're going to, as those in our association, Masjid Wali Muhammad, Muslim Center, Masjid Al-Ikhlas, Detroit Masjid, and the other masajids in the metro area, we're going to address the problems that our youth are experiencing. And we want to do that on a collective basis. So we don't know exactly at this moment what form that's going to take. But we know that the realities of this society and our youth, we know that many of our youth are being influenced by the larger society. So we as Muslims, we're obligated to establish an Islamic community. The thrust is establishing Islamic community. Many of us, we have young adults that have been influenced by drugs. We have many young adults in our Muslim families that have been experiencing teenage pregnancies. And we can't continue to be in a state of denial that we are not influenced by many of these things that are happening. In a state of denial, we as Muslims must begin to address and establish Islamic community life. You know, we have situations, you know, yeah, the baby is pretty. Yeah, look at the pretty little baby, yes. But the act in many cases is not pretty. So we're going to have to be able to influence to counteract the influence of the larger world, as it were. Yeah, look at the pretty little baby. Yes, the baby is pretty. The baby is, oh, it smells so sweet. Yes. But look at the act. Are we marrying? Marriage is important in this religion. In fact, the Prophet said you're not supposed to have sex outside of marriage. So we can't be in a state of denial that these things aren't happening. So we as a community have to bring the Islamic influence. And we have to give the youth an opportunity to speak on what's troubling them. It's not like the time when many of us were young. Most of us got somebody warm to go home to and lay next to. Some of these youth, they don't have that. The hormones are raging. We have to be conscious of what the youth are. And some of them don't like to call them youth. The young men and women in many of our Muslim homes. We need to get their attention. So, as leaders in the community, we have to realize the necessity of expressing and addressing many of these issues. And I'm sure many of the adults could benefit from relationships and the husband and wife. A lot of these situations. You know, what is it? What is marriage? What is this? What is that? We have to have a clear understanding of what that is. You know, we talk about the arranged marriages across the water and laugh and joke, but don't understand. Many of the marriages just arranged across the water start off real cold, but they grow warm. Many of us here in America, our marriages start off real hot and grow real, real cold. It's a lot. We have to put a little humor, you know, loosen you up a little bit this Sunday morning. Yes, but the idea of us coming together as a community in a broader perspective, so each community would have some input. Masjid Wali Muhammad, Muslim Center, Masjid Al-Ikhlas. We have youth in these various communities, and they need to be heard. See, you can raise them ever so Islamically, and then they step out in this society. Society has a broad influence. Many times you can't handle the influences of society. We have to be cognizant of the effect of the society. Many influences of the society. I was just watching, you know, I was watching to change the subject a little bit, but then it's just looking back historically, we were seeing, they were playing the clips of Coleman Young and things that had happened. And we here at Masjid Walid Muhammad, we extend, condolences to the family of Coleman Young and those people. They're very close, and we're all very close. And just looking at the clip of many of the things that he was going through. And ironically enough, you can learn a lot by what had happened yesterday. The things he was addressing, they had him for un-American activities. They had him this. They went against this. Young people look at that. People, I see today now people protesting against this and that. And he was right in the throes of it then. And it was a very, very interesting presentation. But the influence of society on a situation, that influence is real tough. So we as Muslims, I'm sure there are Christians, there are Jews, there are other people in society, we have to live and work together, but we have to understand what our relationship is with community. We have responsibilities in our own immediate community. Then we have to be in Islamic posture to know how to deal with other communities. Having the knowledge and the etiquettes to know how to deal not only with other communities, but with ourselves. Many times we are hard on each other. and that's largely because of the lack of being properly informed. We could say much more about that, but let us start with the Quran. And this is the book that we encourage to read. We encourage to read, and like everything, it starts from the beginning. We start from the alphabet. We make some effort. We're going to continue to make more efforts in that alphabet, long vowels, and get to the point where we can read it and look it up and get more understanding of what's being read. I'm going to read an ayat from Al-Araf, the Heights. And it says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Kul man harama zinat Allah allati akhraja li-ibadihi wa tayyibati min ar-rizq. Kul hiya lilladhina amanu fil hayat في الحياة الدنيا كانت صوتا يوم القيامة كذلك نفصل الآيات لقوم يعلمون. صدق الله العظيم. With the name Allah, the beneficent benefactor, the beneficent redeemer. Say, kul. This is a command. When you hear the word kul, is a command to say. Who have forbidden the beautiful gifts of Allah, which He have produced for His servants, and the things clean and pure, which He have provided for sustenance. Say, they are in the life of this world for those who believe, and purely for them on the day of judgment. Thus do we explain the signs in detail for those who understand. Allah is instructing us Who has forbidden you the beautiful things of this world? The believers should want more. No one has forbidden the Muslim the beautiful things of this world. You should want a nice house, a nice car, a nice business. There are many things you should want. As Muslims, Allah hasn't denied anyone anything. Some people have a difficulty in understanding their relationship with the world and the relationship with their religion. This is a big problem. No one has denied you anything. Allah wants you. It says, who have forbidden you the beautiful gifts of Allah? Qul man harama zinat Allah allazi akhraja li'ibadihi. Who has forbidden the beautiful things? You know, Allah has ordained that you should have beautiful things. So we find what has happened. No one has denied you the beautiful things of Allah. Now, if you have your understanding and your confusion with the religion and the world, this is what's going to cause the problem. And this is what tends to cause the problems with people. There's no virtue in being destitute and in need and all that. No. No one has denied you this. But what happens is we go to extremes. See, we go to extremes. And we as Muslims are told not to go to extremes. The Islamic community is a community that does not go to extremes. You shouldn't be so spiritual where you neglect your worldly responsibilities. Allah says, seek the hereafter, but don't forget the dunya. Don't forget the world. Seek the dunya, but don't forget, seek the hereafter, but don't forget your share of the world. So we as Muslims should not go to any extremes. The Muslim community is called the Ummatul Wusta. Wusta means the midway community, no extremes. Ummatul Wusta. It says, وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَكُمْ أُمَّةُ الْوُسْطَى وَشَهَدَاءَ عَلَى النَّاسِ. That you are the midway community and that you are شَهَدَاءَ عَلَى النَّاسِ, that you are a witness for the people. وَيَكُونَ الرَّسُولُ عَلَيْكُمْ شَهِيدٌ. And the Prophet, the Rasul, is a witness for you. And if we would read the Quran on a regular basis, and all of us are instructed to do that this is the Ummatul Wusta. We don't go to any extreme. We are both physical and material. So the idea of employment, gainful employment. Here, in many cases, you don't have any money, you don't have any resources. Many times people get bitter. They get so bitter, sometimes they go to extremes. Some people, when they lose material, they lose their dignity. Some people go to illegal activities. They want to be dignified. So to be dignified, and I don't have any resources, a way to get it, so I'm going to go and do wrong. Go to extremes. And we encourage as Muslims that this is the midway community. But it says, Allah says, say, who has forbidden the beautiful things of Allah, the beautiful gifts of Allah, which he hath produced for his servants? If you're a servant of Allah, you should want nice things. But don't think it just falls from the sky. It takes organization. It takes sincerity. It takes us being able to work together, coordinate, regulate what we have to be about. When people don't see that organization, they don't see whatever, and for whatever reason, it leads to confusion. But Allah says, who has forbidden you the beautiful gifts of Allah, which he has produced for his servants, and the things clean and pure? Allah has ordained for us to have things clean and pure. Sometimes you get clean, and then you start getting a lot of intimate. What you want to be clean for? What you want to be this? No, we should want more. And we should want more for our community. So this community is the Ummatul Wusta. Don't go to any extreme. You shouldn't get so spiritual where you forget what your material responsibilities are. Nor should you get so involved in the material acquisition and forget your spiritual development. Refuse to invest in yourself. Some people are like that. They invest in the material. Oh, they'll tell you how to get some money. But if you're all messed up spiritually, it don't mean a thing to you anyway. You have a whole pocket full of money. There are people around. You got boats rotting in the French Riviera. All sheikhs and everybody all over the world. And they rotting. People say, they used to say about a person a lot of money and don't know how to use it, they say he's nigger rich. That was the expression that was used. You got a whole lot of money and don't know what to do with it. Then sometimes you got money and sometimes people block you out of it. But it takes a spiritual understanding of balance. And Allah hasn't denied the believer anything. So we can't put too much emphasis on spirit and forget our material responsibility, and vice versa. This is what we say. We go through this community, and I'm not saying that the Muslims at this point, but we go through and look at many of these churches in many cases. We find many of the churches in the inner city. I know it was when I was coming up. You know, all Jesus, give up the world to save your soul. And that's all right. But you go out where the people, some of the congregations you go out, the people in the congregations are very lawyers and doctors and people in various high levels of industry. They preach in a little different way. So you got two ways of the way it's interpreted. On one is all spirit, give up the world to save your soul. And then in the others, they try to address some of these issues, but you know, Al-Islam got one logic for everybody. For the poor man, for the educated man, for the crazy man, for everybody. The teacher, the doctor, the lawyer is one logic. It's one Quran. And when we see these extremes, we see the understanding has missed that person. Allah said, who has forbidden the beautiful gifts of Allah, which he has provided for his servants? And it's one logic. It's one Quran for all of us. Now you come with many of the, just give up the world, all Jesus and give up the world to save your soul. That's not our understanding. Jesus is a righteous prophet of God. Moses is a righteous prophet of God. And all of them are righteous. And we say, لا نفارق بين أحد منه ونحن له مسلمون. We make no distinctions between the prophets of God. All of them are equal. Well, my prophet is better than yours. And we don't even go through that stuff. In fact, when you study the history of the Muslims, you'll find that the only people in Mecca, when they forced our beloved prophet out of Mecca, in fact, they had a lady threw camel entrails on the prophet. I think his daughter Fatima took those, cleaned him, took those entrails. He was praying, making salat, and somebody threw some camel entrails. Y'all will probably call them chitlins or something. Camel chitlins. Camel entrails, the innards of the camel, threw it on our beloved prophet while he was making salat. His daughter, I think Fatima, came and cleaned him up. And he got persecuted, he got boycotted because they didn't want to hear this message. There is nothing worthy for you to worship but Allah. A lot of people don't care what religion you are, but when you start saying worship, what you make a deity, that's what have you enslaved. What you make a deity other than Allah. Allah say He gives without counting. This is what Allah say in the Quran. Allah gives without counting. We like to count out to each other. Yeah, you in the religion, let me count out. So, here, 1, 2. We want to put numbers on everything. We want to count out. That's our attitude. We want to count out to people. Allah doesn't count out. He gives without counting. So we find these extremes. This is the Ummatul Wusta. You find some people all spirit and don't want to get anything. Then you find those that all money and then, oh, you spiritual. Yeah. It's a balance. Duly proportioned. And it's Allah who has created so much for us. And Allah's generosity. In fact, the very generosity of Allah has caused many people to believe in God just by the generosity. Not reading Quran, Bible, any kind of book. Just for the grace of Allah. People began to just look out at the creation and see what Allah has given them. And just by the grace of Allah, they believe in God. Not because of a book. They know they didn't create themselves. And they reflect on what Allah has created. And by just the grace of God and the generosity, they become believers. And many of us don't know. When a person finds out how important that is, it goes deep into the soul. So it's important, dear Muslims, that we keep our proper relationship with our Creator and our proper relationship with the created world. Many of us don't have an understanding of the proper relationship with Allah and our proper relationship with the created world. And there are basically two types of individuals. The individual that believes in God, what's considered for some, one individual, his belief in God gives him a definition of good, that good is whatever is the limits of the secular temporary world. That's good to him. His definition of good is just the limits of this immediate temporary existence. And a believer in God, his definition of good is all those things that please Allah. And all those things that displease Allah is considered haram, evil, and bad. That's the difference. So you have people that fear, oh yes, they fear Allah, but the extent of the fear is they fear losing these immediate, temporary creature comforts. And that's the limit of their understanding. But the believer is one who fears anything that displeases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the difference. Oh, they fear something. They fear the loss of this immediate, temporary thing. And anything that interferes with that creature comforts, their vision does not spread out any further. And that's why we can't get justice in the world, is because you have some people that don't believe in the hereafter, or more appropriately, the future. Because when you translate the akhirah, it really means what's coming later. That's why they can't get justice, because they don't believe in the hereafter. You know, we in our first experience right here, Nation of Islam, we were taught that there was no hereafter. All y'all talking about when you die and Jesus and the whole world, ain't no hereafter. And you know some are lingering with that. That's why they can't see justice. Until you believe that there is something better after this. That's one of our articles of faith, the akhirah, the hereafter. Until you believe that there's something after this, you won't be free. Because whatever you latch on to won't give you the courage and the freedom. Because really in your heart you don't believe. You believe this is all there is. So you can't give justice. And there are those like that. You talk to them, this is all there is. And in their heart, they don't believe in the akhirah, the future. Because it is Allah, is Al-Malik, the king and the ruler, who would call us all in the judgment day. This world have crazy ideas about death. Those people that believe that this is all there is, they are locked up. Crazy ideas about death. Crazy ideas about life. Superstition. Putting numbers on everything. They don't believe. They believe this is all there is. They don't believe that Allah has the power and the influence and the control of His whole creation. And when you put that in your heart, that belief, that strong belief, that it's Allah who controls everything. You look at something, it is the power of God that's going to influence your eyesight. You want to pick up something, you're thinking about what's right, because you know that there's a judgment day when the debt is due. This is what Allah says. The day of Yom Din is the day when the debt is due. Now, if you don't believe that, and there are some say this is all it is. Anything that interfere with my little temporary creature comforts, that's good. And that's bad. But the believer, no. The believer is one who fears Allah. And if you don't have any fear, man, they have to have fear of something. I see a lot of fools, they don't fear anything. So they say. They're suicidal, really. Crazy ideas about death. And it's Allah who has created us with a natural fear. And this natural fear that we put in our cells is is what influences us, and it really frees us. It free you. A natural fear. And this is the fear of Allah. Because when we put this natural fear in us, it gives us a priority of worship. A priority of worship. And as the fear of God is the most rewarding fear that breaks all other fears. This is the fear that we want. The fear that breaks all the other fears. When we look at Prophet Muhammad, we look what and we're encouraged to read and study what our beloved Prophet went through. And it's being reenacted. These mentalities and whatever are being reenacted every day. They're being reenacted. You can see it. If you read that history, you'll see it. You find those who come and fill up the ranks. You find out you look around and you don't see them anymore. You look at those, what they would call the hypocrites. Yeah. And then you have those, the Abu Lahabs and the Abu Jahabs that knew everything. Then you have the arrogant ones. You have this. You find those that went against the religion. They became the most fervent followers. In the dead world, so to speak, they were strong, but when they came into religion, they were strong believers. So when we read that history, we find, we see how the Jews worked against the religion, the Jews being already established, how they worked against the Prophet and that community when it was real tender and young. They worked against it. So we have to see and read that history and extract from that history and see how this is applicable to our own situation. We should have a weekend school. We can't have the payroll for a full-time school. We should have a weekend school. There are many things that we should have, but until we have the desire to want it, because Shaitan will come and whisper at you and tell you why you shouldn't have it. We should have a weekend school. We have a concept, collective purchasing process. I got my little money. I'm looking for somebody to latch on with to participate in the CPC. We can have 8 at what, $250, or we can have 4 at $500 a piece. Get a couple of $1,000. But we have to have a degree of trust with one another and come together and share with one another. We, dear Muslims, we have to begin about establishing community. For those of you who came in later, we mentioned about the pre-Ramadan dinner over at the Muslim Center, December the 27th. And we're going to cover various aspects, myself and several other imams. We're going to cover aspects of Ramadan. We want to send a mailing to all those that have taken the Shahadatain 1997 for them to be there, because this will be their first Ramadan. And there are things that would be very helpful in them going through their first Ramadan. Many things that would be very, very helpful. So we, dear Muslims, must be about the task. And we say in summing the few remarks we shared with you today, Allah has not forbidden anything from us of the beautiful. He hasn't forbidden the beautiful gifts. And we know there are things forbidden from us that are haram. And there's a clear reason why they're forbidden. There's nothing forbidden for us unless there's a clear prohibition why it's forbidden. So it's no spookism. If it's something forbidden, there's no taboos in this religion. If something is forbidden, there's a clear and definite reason why it's forbidden. And it's spelled out in the Quran. It says this book is a comprehensive book and it's al-bayan. It makes things clear. So we want to be looking. We're going to start off dealing with aspects of the youth from a collective basis with Masjid Wali Muhammad, the center, and throughout the area. And we're going to make it a collective sort of input. So the young men and women from this community and other communities, we're going to meet and we're going to give presentations and allow them to give presentations. Hear from them. And then if they want our input, we can give our input to it, but we want to hear from them. Because many of us think we know what they're going through, and we don't. We're going to have to establish a situation for them, for the young adults in our community. So we don't want to hold you too long. We want to say next Sunday is going to be a joint ta'aleem over at the House of Wisdom. You can get there by Southfield Expressway to Warren, get off at the Warren exit, go down, you cross Evergreen, you cross some of the big streets. You cross Evergreen, be one of them, then you go and you cross Outer Drive, and get to Ann Arbor Trail. There's a mobile station right on the, you won't see a sign say on Ann Arbor Trail because it's a dentist's office. It's kind of going down like a hill. But it's a gas station, mobile gas station right on the right. And then you make a left, you'll be right there. So we're going to be there, inshallah, 9:30. There's going to be a lunch served and for the people. And it's a pretty big event. There's several communities that's participating in this. So it'll be a very worthwhile experience for you. And we're going to be talking about various aspects of the religion. So it'll be a nice Sunday out for us. And this will be at 9:30. It begins 9:30 to 3. 9:30 to 3. A joint ta'aleem over at the House of Wisdom. So we're looking forward to seeing you over there. In fact, I'm supposed to have our last meeting over at the House of Wisdom to tie down various things tonight over there. We've been meeting 4 or 5 weeks trying to coordinate that. So we're anxiously waiting to see you. Before we have a dua, are there any questions? Oh, don't forget, we have delicious, hot, delicious fish sandwiches and French fries on sale downstairs. Come and support this effort. We've got some fish, some hot fish downstairs, and we want you to support that. Yes.
Will we be able to have anybody here next Sunday?
No, we won't have anybody over there.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, I should have stated it that way, yeah. We won't have a ta'aleem here. We have a joint ta'aleem over at the House of Wisdom. That'll be next Sunday, okay? Yes, Brother Kendrick.
Are you gonna put a big note outside the door in case someone decides they want to?
Very good point. We'll put a sign up. A joint ta'aleem at House of Wisdom, and put directions how they can get there. Very good, very good. And this is what we have to do. We have to anticipate that, and that's the way we make things work a lot smoother. It's unfortunate, that many of us go to our jobs and we be Dr. Clearhead Know-It-All on the job. And we get out here and we feel we have a vested interest to act foolish. Sometimes I even, I observe that sometimes. Brother be around here, be talking a certain way, and I see him in the line in the bank, and be talking about international banking and diamonds and community development and all that kind of stuff. Around here, he be cussing people out and acting all crazy and everything. I said, what? Is that the same brother? You say assalamu alaikum to them, they look at you real funny like.
Praise to Allah.
But this is the psychology. This is the way many people are programmed. They come to their own community, they say, this is the way you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to, number one, come in and argue. You're supposed to come in, they be raising hands, 5 minutes, but it's nothing contributing to making this successful. And when you start studying psychology, the mind and people, you find a mood. See, a mood is, you take it from home and then you get it at work, you get at the mosque, and you're angry because something happened in your house. But you come here, then it becomes a mood of resentment. So you have those that they be in a meeting sometime. They don't come to the meeting to contribute and to reach solutions. They come to the meeting to tear it up. Because something in their own life is missing, or they're mad at this, or they're mad at that. If you analyze the situation, they brought that mood into the meeting. Sometimes I have them come in. Sometimes they come out from the street. They ask me something about, they see the program on TV. They come and ask me, I told one brother, I say, brother, I told him, I say, to drink blood and eat flesh, that's cannibalism. That's all I said to him. He had all kind of inquiries. I said, when you drink blood, and you eat blood cakes and blood pie and raw meat and all this stuff, and eat flesh, that's cannibalism. God gave you senses. Be careful what goes into your mind, and be careful what goes into your mouth. You look funny at me. But this is, many times we have little idiosyncrasies, and we're trying to solve this problem. We're trying to, we want to come together and address a project, because one of our projects, we want to brighten up this ceiling, we want to paint, we want to get this green off, put new tiles, put some more fluorescent things. This is a weekend job. We're going to have to try to have that during Ramadan. We can have that out the way. This wall over here, we can paint it, treat it up or something, and whatever. But these are the things going to take those that identify with our community. We have to establish community and work with family. Many of our families are hurting. And I'm saying this in the plural. Many of us are hurting. Dysfunction for one reason or another. We can't justify certain things you cannot justify. Allah say this. Sometimes people want you to justify wrong. You can't do it. So we're going to have to come together and discuss these things. Family, community. Community, family. We're going to have to deal with this, because we know this larger influence is tough. And sometimes freedom is just as tough as segregation. The freedoms. Because many of the young ones don't remember the colored water fountain and the white water fountain, or the restrictions, or this and that and the other. Now they got so much freedom, they don't understand what happened yesterday in many cases. The freedoms. So you have to have a sense of history, so you don't have to repeat the mistakes of old. So we don't want to hold you up. If there are any questions, I'll be Brother Henry.
I'm wondering about last year, when Imam Muhammad made the trip to the Middle East. He was there during the Ramadan. That was in December. And that tape that he was selling.
Yes, sir.
And also during the Ramadan, and the land of power, you know, after the first 10 days,
Mm-hmm.
which was the 21st day of Ramadan.
Yes, sir.
And so that was, he was in Jerusalem area at that time.
Right, right. Is that the tape of the convention when he was, because that was largely in Jerusalem as well.
Yeah, that's right,
Okay, he and Imam Hassan.
that's right.
Okay, in fact, I'll bring that video the next time. I usually carry various videos in my briefcase. I can bring that next time. We showed it here one time.
When I was wondering about, see, I was thinking that all over the world, they celebrate Ramadan at the same time.
Oh yeah, we make efforts to start. See, if we don't start at the same time, well, we'll be in it, but the start and finish is the time that creates quite a few problems. And most of the times it's a day difference because of some use the new moon to start their count, and some use the halal, the crescent to start, and there's a difference, and it's causing problems worldwide, but we're going to deal with that. That's why we suggest that you come to this dinner, and we're going to discuss that. We're going to discuss that and many other things with regard to Ramadan. But back to what you mentioned about the Imam, in December, we're supposed to meet in Chicago with the Imam, and that's in this week's paper. It mentions that the Imam wants to talk with all of the Imams in our association in Chicago. And that's that weekend of the 21st and the 22nd. So the Imam is supposed to speak with us at the 23rd and 22nd. But of course, that's a pre-Ramadan. Ramadan, I think, is anticipated the 30th, December 30th, 31st, or something like that. This would be a pre-Ramadan.
What I was talking about last year.
I know last year, the trip. I remember that trip. And the Night of Power, we spoke in Atlanta during the Night of Power, right?
Yeah, well, that's right. But he celebrated the Night of Power in the Middle East, and they celebrated it after the first 10 days of Ramadan, which was the 21st.
Right.
Day of 21st day of Ramadan.
Yes.
They said, you know, any day after the first 10 days, the odd day after the first 10 days,
Mm-hmm.
it can be the Night of Power.
Right. Exactly.
So they celebrated the first day after the first 10 days.
Yes, sir.
Which was the 21st day of Ramadan.
Right.
That was in December last year. At least.
Right. Okay. Are there any other questions? We're going to go into more detail on the count and the Night of Power, and various aspects of that.
Yes.
Are there any other questions or anything? How's everyone doing with prayer? You know, we gave a presentation on prayer. And are you doing a lot better with prayer, Brother Kendrick?
I'm trying to get it in.
Get it? Okay, okay. And one thing we find is repetition. That tape, I'm going to make some more, maybe disseminate more of them, because we went through a lot. We covered a lot of information on the prayer. In fact, we covered the Arabic and the English, what's being said, the various names of the positions. We went through the names of the positions. We went through a lot in that tape. In fact, I was looking at the tape, and we made a program of the tape in the studio already. And I was saying it's a lot of information that was covered in there for the person that's not familiar with the prayer process. The prayer, why do you say, what you say, what each position means, what you're saying in Arabic, what you're saying, what the responses, prayer response, what constitute a rakat, what, you know, the difference between the 4 rakat prayer, the 2 rakat prayer, all of the day prayers, obligatory. And there's a lot that was covered, those of you who were here, but it was a lot on there. We'll make that more available. In fact, I'll double copy and we can have one for the masjid. Because it saves a lot of time for those who want to find out initially what's required in the prayer. Because prayer, like all things, you have to practice. If you don't practice it, you lose it. You have to constantly rehearse and practice. Never feel hesitant to say you don't know. And I know at many times in our environment, we pick up habits from those who have really trained us to be intimidating toward each other. We're threatening toward each other. We shouldn't be that way. We learn a little something and start acting funny. Don't get a teacher to tell you something that didn't tell the other one. Then this other one, he's gonna think he's better, and he's gonna use that to intimidate the next one, and he starts hallucinating. At that point, he stops growing. And the people, many that stand over us, they're not intimidated by what you know. They're not intimidated by what you have. So you find the whole atmosphere, when you get around other people, you find the whole atmosphere is different. Where in our situation, our circumstances, and we have to be aware, never forget where you come from. Some people, it's primary, bread and water, whether or not the light's going to go off. These are primary considerations. But there are other people, they laugh at that. But in our situation, it's not. And one beautiful thing is that coming up in our environment, what we've learned and what we've sensed helps us to be more effective. Never forget your reality. Always understand where you come from and allow it to bless you. And have sincerity and allow it to bless you for what you need. Are there any other questions? Any questions? Yes, sir.
So to get a copy, you'll make it available?
I'll make a copy available, yes, because I'm supposed to send a brother, young brothers in school, and I told him I'll send him that tape. In fact, I'm going to send it to him next week. And it's a tape we did right here. See, sometimes it's just a few of you here, and I'm not influenced by numbers. If it's just one person here, and I say, thank Allah for technology. Allah has established the technology. I don't look at that as the white man's thing. Allah has established technology. Allah has established the principles in creation for man to use. Allah hasn't denied the human being to use the principles in the world for his benefit, for his sustenance. Allah hasn't denied the human being that. So when you look at the world, look at society, look at your relationship to the world, this is Allah has provided this. Just like they say Bill Gates. Allah created the computer. Allah created Bill Gates. Allah created his mother. This is where you got to look at the world. Allah created Bill Gates. Allah created the world. Allah created his mind to think and use with the sustenance out here. Just like you understand what an integrated circuit is a piece of sand, silicon. You look at the periodic table, the student looks at the periodic table in the lab, and it's just silicon. Silicon is nothing but a piece of